Ever wonder about the magic behind AI art? Those self-driving cars you see, or even ChatGPT? Well, it's not really magic. It's a technology called deep learning, and we're going to break it all down for you right here in the next 5 minutes.
So let's start with this. You've seen those incredible AI images all over the internet, right? You can type in the wildest phrase you can think of, something like a cat riding a skateboard in space, and just seconds later, boom, you get a masterpiece. How on earth is that even possible?
Well, the answer is deep learning. It's the engine that powers all of that cool stuff. But it's more than just art. It's about teaching machines to learn from tons and tons of examples, instead of just following a strict set of pre-programmed rules. Deep learning. This is what we're here for. It's a supercharged, specialized kind of machine learning that's actually inspired by the way our own brains are wired, using something called artificial neural networks. So what's the real difference here? Well, with old-school machine learning, a human has to hold its hand. You'd have to tell it, hey, if you want to find a tomato, look for things that are red and round and have this specific kind of green stem. With deep learning, you just show it a million pictures of tomatoes, and it figures out what makes a tomato all by itself. All right, so this artificial brain idea sounds pretty cool, right? Let's pop the hood and take a look inside. What are these neural networks actually made of? So a neural network is basically organized into layers. Let's say we're teaching it to read your handwriting. The input layer is the front door. It takes in all the raw data, like every single pixel from an image of a number you wrote. Then you have the hidden layers in the middle, and this is where the real thinking happens. They look for patterns, like curves and straight lines. And finally, the output layer gives you the answer. It spits out something like, okay, I'm 94% sure that's a 9. And inside those layers, you've got a few key parts. There are neurons, which are like tiny little calculators. They're all connected by weighted channels, which are pathways that can get stronger or weaker over time. Each neuron also has a bias, which is just a little nudge to help it learn better. And last, an activation function acts like a bouncer at a club, deciding if a neuron's signal is important enough to get passed along to the next layer. So we've got the parts, but how does the thing actually learn? Well, this is the really clever bit. It's a constant cycle of trial and error, a whole lot of guessing, checking its work, and slowly getting it right. It all works in this 4-step loop, over and over again. First, in what's called forward propagation, data flows through the network and it makes a guess. Second, it calculates the error. It looks at the right answer and sees how wrong it was. Third, and this is the absolute key, it uses a process called backpropagation to send that error report all the way back through the network. And fourth, it uses that report to tweak all those little weights and biases to make a slightly better guess next time. You do this millions of times, and the network gets incredibly smart. Honestly, the best way to think about this is like learning to shoot a basketball. The first time you shoot, you probably miss, right? Your brain instantly calculates the error. Whoops, too much power, aimed too far left, and it adjusts everything for the next shot. A neural network is doing that exact same thing, just with math instead of muscles. Different problems need different tools. So you can think of these specialized models like a team of superheroes, where each one has its own special power.
First up, you've got CNNs. These are the eyes of AI. They are absolute masters of anything visual. They start by seeing simple things like edges and colors, and then they piece them together to recognize complex objects. They're what lets a self-driving car see a stop sign, or what makes that background blur on your video call work so well. Next are the RNNs, the memory of AI. These guys are all about understanding things that happen in a sequence, like words in a sentence. They have this amazing ability to remember what came just before, which is absolutely crucial for understanding context. This is the tech that powers assistants like Siri and Alexa. And then came the transformers. These are the context experts, and they were a total game changer. See, older models had to read a sentence word by word, but a transformer, it looks at the entire sentence all at once. It uses this incredible trick called self-attention to understand how every single word relates to every other word. And that giant leap forward is exactly what makes things like ChatGPT possible. And finally, you have the artists of the AI world. You've got GANs, the creators, where two AIs basically have a competition. One makes fakes, the other tries to spot them, and they keep going until the fakes are perfect. Then you have diffusion models, the dreamers. They start with just a bunch of random static and slowly, magically shape it into a work of art. And that brings us right back to our cat riding a skateboard in space. Deep learning isn't some magic wand you can wave at any problem. It has some absolutely mind-blowing strengths.
But it also has very real limitations that we need to talk about.
There's this big trade-off. On the one hand, deep learning is literally saving lives by spotting cancer in medical scans and helping us translate languages in real time. But on the other hand, these models are unbelievably hungry for data. They need powerful, really expensive computers to run, and training them can take days, weeks, or even months. And maybe the biggest issue is the black box problem. We get a brilliant answer, but we often have no idea how the AI actually got there.
Look, this isn't just a niche topic for computer scientists anymore. Not that long ago it was. But today, deep learning is a massive wave that is completely rewriting the rules for our jobs, for art, for privacy, for just about everything. It's a force we all need to understand. Just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're dealing with, a model like GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters. That's what this number is. Remember those little adjustable knobs, the weights and biases we talked about? Well, imagine 175 billion of them, all working together. This isn't just a bigger computer program. It's a totally different level of complexity.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. For decades, the goal was to build machines that could learn from the world. And you know what? We've pretty much done it. But now, we've crossed into brand new territory. We've built machines that don't just learn, they imagine. And figuring out what that means for us, well, that's the next great question.